All right, we're ready to begin the meeting tonight, the February 8th, 2024 Conyers Rockdale Planning Commission. The first item on the agenda is the invocation. So let's pray. Almighty and everlasting God, who presides over all things heaven and earth, we gather here today to conduct the affairs of our community with humility and a deep sense of responsibility. Grant us, O divine providence, the wisdom to govern amidst the conflicting interests and challenges of our times, the ability to work together in harmony, even when there is honest disagreement, and the compassion to treat all with fairness and dignity. Bless this assembly and endow each of us with the courage to make decisions that will be pleasing in your sight, beneficial to our community, and reflective of your justice and mercy. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Amen. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a roll call. When I call your name, if you can signify by saying aye. Al Ford. Aye. Ernest E. Stovall Goolsby.
Aye.
Tamikia White.
Aye.
Ariel Palmer. I see she's not here with us tonight. Leslie Lambert.
Aye.
And Tom Harrison.
Aye.
Okay. We have a quorum. Next item is the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Okay. Motion to approve. Or second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
Which agenda?
For the January 11th.
The one, okay.
I'm sorry, that's the minutes, the January 11th.
Okay.
Right.
This is the approval of the agenda. So approval of the agenda, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Now the approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the minutes from January 11th, 2024 as presented.
Okay. For a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? None discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Motion passes. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the rules of procedure for public hearings.
Each speaker must sign their name to the appropriate zoning case sheet and fill out a public comment card to register their intent to speak prior to the start of this meeting. Each item of business shall be handled in the order that it appears on the agenda unless upon motion of the Planning Commission the order is changed. A member of the city or county planning staff will present each item to the Conyers Rockdale Planning Commission and will further provide a recommendation upon each item of business. The zoning applicant or the agent will state their name and address at the podium and will have 10 minutes in which to make his or her presentation. Any portion of their 10 minutes may be reserved for rebuttal following the opposition to the application. After the applicant's presentation, all registered speakers who wish to speak in favor of the application will then be heard. Prior to speaking upon the item, each registered speaker will state their name and address at the podium. They will also be limited to a total of 10 minutes. Once the applicant has made his or her presentation and the speakers in favor of the application have been heard, the secretary will then call upon the registered speakers in opposition to the application. The opposition shall likewise be limited to a total of 10 minutes. Once the public hearing portion is closed, no other speakers will be heard. As a reminder, speakers are to address the Planning Commission, not the applicant or the audience, and are expected to conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. The use of abusive or profane language shall not be allowed. No debate or argument between speakers shall be permitted. After all public comments have been heard, the Planning Commission may elect to hold general discussion. The Planning Commission will vote upon a recommendation that will continue forward to the City of Conyers City Council or the Rockdale County Board of Commissioners public hearings.
Thank you. Old business, none. New business, City of Conyers, item C1, Case 1, 2024, Ordinance 1350. The purpose is to amend the comprehensive land use plan from Rockdale County Technology Park to City of Conyers Industrial Distribution, and to amend the zoning map from Rockdale County R1 Single Family Residential District to City of Conyers Industrial Distribution District. Applicant is City of Conyers. Location tax parcel 0100100096. Size 0.60 acres. Applicant Bobby Mason. Owner A.R. Barksdale Inc. and KFB Enterprises Inc. Skate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Planning Commission members, it's a pleasure to be before you on this warm February evening. It's quite a mouthful, isn't it? Yeah. So just real briefly, this property is in the county, and you're probably saying, why is the city here with an annex or with a rezoning for a county property? Well, in a nutshell, this applicant has applied to annex and zone this 0.6 of an acre into the city of Conyers. How annexations work within Conyers is that you guys do not hear a request for annexation. Only the city council has that authority to annex property, just like the city council has the authority to zone property. We, staff, and we, planning commission, only makes recommendations on zoning items. City council cannot annex unzoned property and cannot zone property that is not within their jurisdiction. So in a nutshell, how that works is this item, after tonight's public hearing, will go before the city council at their public hearing February 21st. They'll introduce an annexation, table that, then go into the public hearing for the zoning. They'll then decide on zoning, come back to annexation. If for whatever reason the zoning item is approved by city council, yet it fails annexation, nothing happens to the property. It remains in the county as it is. But should the council move forward with the zoning change and then the annexation change, then it is annexed into the city at the zoning classification provided. So that's kind of a nutshell of how that happens. Really quick overview, but just kind of let you guys know, because you're probably looking at it and saying, well, how's the city up here talking about a county property? So real quick, just go over this. This is the 0.6 of an acre. It is a trigger, a slice, a shoe, however you want to put it. And it's a greater part of 120 plus acres. And it splits a parcel that is in the city. The property around the subject property is both city industrial distribution. This parcel is city industrial distribution. This parcel is city industrial distribution. This is the current parcel, and that's that little sliver or finger, if you will, that is being proposed to annex. The reason for this request is the owner owns this parcel and this parcel, and they are in the process of a business transaction which would allow a subdivision of this property and give that property to this piece. Well, unfortunately, they can't do that because of this sliver. So they first need to annex and zone this sliver into the city. Whoops. Got excited with my scroll. And then they can combine it with this property and then do it the subdivision that they propose. The property boundary is that on the survey, as you see, by Patrick and Associates, and Mark Walton, the principal of Patrick and Associates, is here representing the applicant, Mr. Bobby Mason, and the property owner, A.R. Barksdale Incorporated. In the county's zoning map, you see that it is zoned by Rockdale County as R1. The Conyers future land use map would bring that in as industrial distribution. The Conyers zoning map would zone this piece as industrial distribution. So the purple is the city of Conyers industrial distribution district, and it would basically fill in this white line with purple. There are the 8 criteria in which zoning items are considered. Those items are provided to you in your staff report with information about those. And so as far as staff has looked at this, we feel this is a very benign request. Staff recommends approval of the request to amend the comprehensive land use plan from Rockdale County Technology Park to the City of Conyers Industrial Distribution, and to amend the zoning map from Rockdale County R1 Single Family Residential District to City of Conyers Industrial Distribution for only this 0.60 acre portion of tax parcel 07100100096. Are there any questions?
Just, it's not a question, maybe more of an observation. It looks like this was maybe designed originally as an access point for this property.
Yes, sir.
Somehow got skewed off to the side and didn't get included.
That is exactly what I would think as well, because you look at the width and it's 60 foot wide. What is 60 foot wide? That's typically an access road, a driveway for industrial,
Yeah.
a road right away, 60 foot wide a lot of times. So yes, sir, I would guesstimate that this was originally cut off intentionally on purpose to provide a road access to the 128 acres that it's part of.
Interesting scenario.
Yes, sir. And just for discussion purposes, when this is cut off, this larger 128 acres still has road frontage on East Park Drive. So this would not become a landlocked piece of property. Again, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If not, I don't believe there's anyone here to speak in favor or in opposition of this request that I'm aware of, but Mr. Walton is here on behalf of his client.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Boy, sounds good now.
All right.
Good evening, Chairman and Planning Commission members. I'm Mark Walton with Patrick and Associates. Mr. Gaither has pretty much covered this from one end to the other, so I'm just here to answer any questions. And Mr. Harrison, your surmising that was an access strip is correct.
Looks like an appendix.
Yep, it does. Yes, or a finger or a trigger or whatever you want to call it. But this is just going to be brought into the city to make that one parcel whole rather than in several little pieces. Any
Questions?
I'll reserve my time for rebuttal
All right.
on a future case.
Yeah. That's what you have to do. Okay. Well, this one thing's, Scott said, pretty benign. So, our discussion and our motions. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, for the record's sake, like I stated, I don't believe there's anyone that was signed up to speak in favor or opposition,
Yes,
but just if you'll
Okay.
open and close the public
Right,
hearing.
I was going on.
Oh,
Okay,
sorry.
There's nobody signed up. Okay, we have that confirmed. There's nobody signed up. So, okay. So the public hearing is closed, and we're now in discussion and our motion.
Very little to discuss.
Right. I gotta give a chance if you want. But no.
I look forward to reading this long request. Mr. Chairman, I vote that we approve the request to amend the comprehensive land use plan from Rockdale County Technology Park to City of Conyers Industrial Distribution, and to amend the zoning map from Rockdale County R1 Single Family Residential District to City of Conyers Industrial Distribution District. Two breaths.
Very good. Okay. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, second. Any discussion? All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Unanimous.
Thank you all.
All right, you're welcome. All right, moving on to item Rockdale County, item R1, rezoning 2024-01. This is a request to rezone 5.65 acres from R1 Single Family Residential to AR Agricultural Residential to allow for the operation of a bed and breakfast. Location 2599 Southeast Stanton Road, parcel number 046A01096E. Parcel size is 5.65 acres. The applicant is Herman Adams, and the owners Herman and Robin Adams. Hello.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Planning Commission members. My name is Denise Tugman. I'm the new planning manager. Deputy Director Wheeler is unable to be here tonight. So as you've said, our first item is a rezoning request, and the applicants are wanting to rezone their 5.65 acres from R1 to AR to allow for the operation of a bed and breakfast and a small farm. The subject property is located on 2599 Stanton Road, and they're currently using it as a single-family home. The owners are requesting to use it to operate their bed and breakfast, and according to the tax assessor's website, it's a 3,335 heated square feet home. And just a point of notice that the bed and breakfast is a permitted outright use in an AR zoning district. Staff believes that the proposed rezoning of the subject property from R1 to AR for the bed and breakfast would be suitable in view of the adjacent residential uses. The subject property borders AR zone properties to the south, and the R1 zone property to the north is a lot of almost 3 acres. The property is heavily wooded, and the owners are not planning on removing any healthy trees. So it should remain with a lot of buffers. Furthermore, the subject property meets both the dimensional standards of the AR zoning district and the supplemental regulations for bed and breakfast. The bed and breakfast area will include 2 bedrooms and 1 common living room or 1 common living area, and can accommodate 8 to 10 guests. Staff had received all internal and external reviews, and which are in your packets. And from RDOT, they require just 1 parking space per guest room rented, and the owners are willing to provide at least 4 parking spaces. So that should be covered. The proposed zoning will not cause any adverse impact on public facilities and utilities. It will have no effect on existing streets and transportation facilities, as the property will be visited by 10 guests or less at any given time. The zoning proposal is in conformity with the future land use category of this property, which means the AR zoning district is permitted within a medium density residential future land use designation. Staff recommends approval with conditions for this rezoning from R1 to AR. And the conditions that staff had recommended are: the bed and breakfast activities must adhere to the standards of use and development per the UDO. And the livestock that they'll be having, livestock and related enclosures must adhere to the standard use and development per the UDO. Number 3, the bed and breakfast may accommodate no more than 10 guests at a time. And just a point of reference as well is that no guest shall stay more than 14 days. So number 4, any proposed signage associated with the bed and breakfast shall be submitted to the Department of Planning and Development for review and approval. And as I've indicated earlier, the applicant is here, so if you want to hold your questions and maybe see if the applicant will answer your questions. If not, staff is available to answer your questions.
All right, thank you. Now we'll hear from the applicant.
Good evening, committee members.
Good evening.
My name is Herman Adams, and my beautiful wife is Robin.
Speaking to the mic.
Oh, my name is Herman Adams. My beautiful wife is in the back, Robin Adams. We're the owners of 2599 Stanton Road. And we are here to try to get a rezoning for our property to a bed and breakfast. We're near retirement. I'm retiring in about a year and a half. And a couple of things, my wife also is a home chef. So what better way than a bed and breakfast to share some recipes? And besides that, we look at holistic eating. We're getting older in age and want to do a small farm to be able to grow our own whole foods. And also we have grandchildren, someplace that they can learn about nature and those type of things. So that's why we're interested in doing this. Any questions?
Yeah, you said, how many bedrooms will you be?
We have 2 bedrooms,
Right.
and we actually have a walk-in attic space that we want to finish out too, just to accommodate another living area in our home.
Because I was going to ask that up to 10 guests,
Yes.
and 2 bedrooms, 10 guests, kind of.
Yeah, our
don't
our
commute.
walk-in attic space is roughly about 600 square feet. You can walk in, and we plan on putting a little 2 bunk beds on each side. It's right over our garage area, and have just an open living area. So we figure there'll be enough to accommodate roughly 10 guests. We're looking at 8 because it's like 2, and then maybe 4 in the main living area, and a pull-out couch that can accommodate maybe 2 more, or something like that.
Now, would y'all be living on the property?
Yes.
So
on the
where
property.
will y'all live?
We actually, it's 2 levels, and we pretty much stay downstairs. Our upstairs, just me and her, and it's almost 4,000 square feet. So we have
it's
quite a bit of space.
2 bedrooms downstairs.
Just 1. The master's down, and
The
there's
master's
actually
down.
3 bedrooms upstairs, but we're going to maintain use of 1 of those
And
bedrooms.
you'll be separated from the
Yes.
bed and breakfast.
Mhm.
How many entries into the home? How many?
3. We have our garage entrance, and we have a back door and a front door entrance.
So you can get in from the bottom level, you and your.
There's only bottom level entrances.
Okay.
If we do, we had considered, because that walk-in attic space is on the exterior of the home, we'd have to put a deck and all that. So we're not really interested in that yet, but maybe in the future might be something we might look at doing or something like that.
So when your guests register, I guess at that point, that's when they will know the limit of occupants. And
Actually, we plan on advertising about it. At some point in the future, we decide to put a sign up front so you can call if you see it that way, or if you see it online or something like that. So they should know prior to even coming or registering or signing up for it.
of course, you just worry about situations. Well, you can't worry about situations where she'll only be 10 there, but they might having a big party.
Oh yeah, no.
But you're on the premises, so I can say.
Yes, we're living there. It's almost your traditional style. It's not something where they'll come and have the place to themselves. We will be living downstairs in the space, and they will have some access to the house, like your traditional bed and breakfast, because we're going to be doing breakfast, and that's the only meal right now we're planning on doing. We won't be actually looking at starting until just after summer, because if we do that build out, we won't be ready until right after summer, probably October timeframe, September, October. We're making sure we have everything in place now.
So you won't actually go into operation until after the build out?
Yes, that's what our plans are. Absolutely.
How long you been in the Conyers area?
3 years.
3 years.
Actually, yep, 3 years.
Okay,
We bought
so
3 years ago,
Okay.
and we love it.
You've always had the intent to develop the home as such.
No, actually, we kind of came across that, being retirement, looking at supplemental income a little bit. I'm with Atlanta Fire. I see there's some fire people here from Atlanta. But we kind of came about this because we had the land, looking at the income, and my wife, she's a master chef, Food Network watcher, and loves to cook, and she cooks so much. I'm like, hey, you can share that with guests. That sort of thing, so.
I'm looking at the center photograph. It doesn't look like it's landscaped, is it?
It is. Matter of fact,
Okay. So I'm not looking at dirt.
no, the original owner, she was a gardener, and actually the house was featured in Better Homes and Gardens
Wow.
some time ago. It has a beautiful garden area out there.
Any other questions?
Have you talked with the residents?
Yes,
Yeah, neighboring
not the ones in front of me, but I have two residents that are really close to me. When I say really close, we're in a wooded area, but I can see their house through the trees, and the resident in the back has a driveway right there. And I spoke to both of them. They don't have any problems with their whatsoever.
Any other questions?
And you plan to be the
Yes.
operator for the duration of the time? You're not thinking about selling it at some point?
No, it's our forever home. Yeah.
All right. Questions? Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay. Appreciate it. Do we have anybody signed up to speak? Nobody signed up? Okay. Nobody signed up to speak, so come up and if anybody has any questions, I don't. Okay. Any questions for the staff?
Yeah, what is the current sign room for AR? I mean, it said the last condition, any signage shall be submitted to the planning department for review and approval. What are the current requirements for signage in the AR district? Can somebody just give me a rough idea?
For that, I'm not sure we have any regulations on
Okay.
the signs. The supplemental regs, anything that they're doing will have to comply by the regulations in the supplemental regulations. So once they come in with anything, it will go through our department, and we will make sure that it's in adherence to
Okay. Thank you.
the zoning. And just to mention, you were asking about if they have to reside there. That's one of the main criteria for having a bed and breakfast. The operator of the establishment shall reside on site, so they'll have to live there.
Good
Hello.
evening.
Good evening.
Director Njoku for Planning and Development. Very happy to be here this evening. Mr. Harris, the signage for residential areas is called the monument signage, which is about 32 square feet, an infinite monument sign that you can see.
I knew it was small, but I couldn't recall exactly
It's
how
32.
small.
It's 32 square feet. It's called a monument signage, and that's what they would have the option to do with their business being re-permitted.
Great.
Is there any additional
Congrats on that.
questions?
Yeah, I got one. This rezoning is only for the subject property.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's not often we go back from R1 to AR, so
I like
the
to
other
hear
way
that.
around.
I said, I like to hear it.
Yeah. To the whole county. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Is there any additional questions from the commission?
No. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
Okay, the public portion of this meeting is now closed, and we're now in board discussion or motion.
If there's no discussion, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the rezoning request to rezone 5.65 acres from R1 to AR, agricultural residential, to allow for the operation of a bed and breakfast.
Motion to approve.
A second.
Second, Demikia. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, next item on the agenda is item R2, Special Use Permit 2024-02. This is a request to authorize a special use permit to allow for the operation of an outdoor recreational facility wedding venue. The location is 2200 Southwest Smyrna Road, parcel number 0280010008088. Size 6 acres. Applicant is Sunny Mullins, and the owner is Sunny Mullins.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so our next case is SUP 2024-01. Sorry.
Thank you.
And, or project summary, the applicant is requesting a special use permit for an outdoor recreational facility to support weddings and similar events. This is a 6-acre site, and the project includes the use of, the property includes a single-family residential home, barn, and riding ring. The overall size of the home, in accordance to the tax assessor's website, is 2,632 or 2,632 heated square feet. The existing barn on the property will be utilized for the event space. Events will mainly be held on weekends. There will be a 150-yard driveway to accommodate incoming traffic. The property is connected to public water and served by a septic system. The applicant stated that the majority of the events will likely be around 200 guests. And the applicant stated that the property can accommodate up to 200 cars. They've also stated that they are amenable to hiring a police officer to help or assist with traffic control. Next, if you notice on this slide where the blue or purple cross is, that's where the barn will be, or where the barn is, where the events will take place. And the Department of Planning and Development recommends approval with conditions for this special use permit to allow the outdoor recreational facility. And the conditions are listed in your packets, but the facility shall abide by all required standards as established in the UDO. The facility shall accommodate no more than 200 guests at any given time. And the site and related activities must adhere to the standards of use and the development per section 218-13XX. The side and rear property lines shall include a 50-feet landscape buffer that shall be continuous, except for the penetrations necessary to allow driveways and utility lines that are placed perpendicular to the property lines. Outdoor activities shall be limited to hours of 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And the lighting shall be contained in cutoff time. And that is also one of our supplemental regulations, where the external lighting shall consist of cutoff type fixtures designed to cast the light downward and away from adjacent properties. Prior to the start of operations, the applicant shall obtain any necessary permits to bring the existing barn and property up to code for the intended occupancy. So the applicant is here, and they will be able to answer some of your questions while they're presenting. So if you want to hold any questions until they do so. And as usual, the staff is here to answer any other questions you may have.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for allowing us to be here this evening to present for our application and our request for a special use permit. We currently are zoned as an AR agricultural property, and in order for us to be able to have people on the property, I didn't want to lose the aspect of having my animals. The whole point of having a rustic barn venue is because people want to see your animals and they want the environment of a barn. So we had to come up with something that would accommodate both having the barn a venue but maintaining the agriculture on the property. The wedding industry is just one of them. That's a $60 billion a year industry. I thought, why not tap into it? I have a beautiful picturesque property. I can handle it, take care of it. Between my husband and I, we both work full time. So this is not going to be something that all of a sudden we're gonna, all right, 10,000 events the first year, the second, that's not even possible for us. It's more or less, there aren't any wedding venues or venues that have true charm and character in Rockdale, and for 90 miles, you can't find a rustic barn type environment. So it's to be able to tap into that highly monetized market and utilize our property at the same time and offer guests something different to be able to do. And what better way? We live on the property. We're there the whole time. I'm an attorney, but I work from home. So it's something that I can maintain and can take care of. And like I said, or as they stated before, it's pretty much going to be limited to when somebody needs an event. It can be a retirement party. It could be a birthday party. It can be a wedding event. Somebody who's looking for some unique charm, picturesque views and photographic views, this would be the place to come to. Anything?
I think you covered most of it.
That's pretty much it.
Right. Questions?
You said that you have space for about 200 cars.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the paving. Do you have paving?
It's not paved. No, correct. 200 is just, in doing your application, it's how much can you fit. I don't even desire to house that kind of environment on the property. Mm-hmm. It's just you want to know what is your max ability, mm-hmm. so that way you're not faced with those challenges later on, or if somebody calls and says, hey, I signed up for 100 guests, but now it's 350. Well, then I don't even want that on my property. So those numbers are just numbers. What would be the max? In doing my research, I haven't found where people have anything over 100 people for a rustic barn wedding environment.
So
those are intimate and small. Sorry.
I'm sorry. So they would be driving across the grass?
Nope, I have a paved, it's not paved, I have a pebbled driveway. Mm-hmm. And then that is going to be changed to what's grass now will be fully pebbleized to be able to handle the cars.
Would you be opposed to if they put a stipulation here that will only require allow you to have one event a day, one event a week? Would you be opposed to that?
I don't see why not.
Okay.
It's not in my business plan, however.
Okay. Because if there is a concern about the number of cars, the number of traffic, mm-hmm. There may be a way to satisfy that kind of concern if you just
absolutely
if you stipulated to one.
I don't want to do more than one event a day. I truly want it to be an experience for someone, and to have to turn something over like that, mm-hmm. then it starts tearing away at your property itself. Oh, yeah. That's not what I want. Because I saw
that the window was 10 to 10. You know how that could be easily.
Absolutely.
You could split it up and have if that and I think that maybe I was just thinking it may satisfy some of the concerns some people may be opposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What are your restroom configurations going to be?
So currently there are if you're familiar with movie lots where they bring on the pullable 3-in-3 restrooms that they take away, they handle all the waste, all the mess. That's what we'll be utilizing.
So you'll have the pull-up porta potty type setup.
Correct. The designer porta potty. Yeah.
The nice ones, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right, and you do realize those do need to be permitted, even for pull-up, correct?
I'm not aware of that, but that's fine.
I believe they do.
Okay.
And Rockdale Environmental would need to be aware of any kind of porta potty, even though it's a nice
one-time use. They still want it. Okay.
They do need to be permitted, and we should probably include that in the recommendation or the conditions. Agree?
Would that leave room if it becomes too cumbersome to then be able to go, okay, let me just convert one of my stalls into an on-property restroom?
Well, the problem with that is you got 200 guests. You would have to update your septic tank system.
Yeah.
Correct. It would have to have its own independent septic tank system.
Well, the length of it, a typical residential septic tank system is, set up for, anywhere from 4 to 7 or 8 family members in a single
Correct.
residence. When you talk about 200 guests, you're talking having to add extension to the field, to the drain field.
Correct.
So that would require permitting also.
Correct.
I think your idea of the pull-up porta potty thing is much more amenable to
Cost-savvy. Okay.
to the process.
Yes.
But they would have to be, however many, I don't know how many they say can be served by one pull-up. It may be 50 people, or I don't know, but you would have to have the appropriate
6.
number.
It's usually 3 and 3. Well,
Yeah,
I guess gender doesn't matter, but for
there
200
are
people,
requirements. I mean, there are stipulations to how many people can be served by the pull-up. If you've got three male, 3 female, I mean, typically you would have to have a handicapped one also.
yep.
So I would suggest you get in touch with Mr. Compton over at Environmental Health and
Okay.
find out what those conditions would be. Should you be approved, right?
Absolutely.
If this is approved, would you be open to maybe paving the first 50 feet? of
Could
the
you speak
driveway?
into the mic?
Oh,
Speak, yeah. Thanks.
If this is approved, would you be open to pave the first 50 feet or so of the driveway? What's happening is, if it's all gravel, say in the event of inclement weather, you bring in a lot of that dirt and gravel onto the main road.
So the driveway itself is paved.
Okay.
Then there's a side driveway that is just rock currently, but my driveway is paved. That 150 yards she referenced, that is completely paved.
Thank you.
So you're going to bring in enough gravel to handle 200 cars? Is that what you're saying?
For a parking area, correct.
Okay, right. What about traffic off the main street? How do you?
The driveway absorbs most of the traffic.
Right.
Us in the planning committee had discussed, I'm totally open to flaggers or a police officer coming out if necessary. They offered would I need some sort of a lighting system? I do not think that I will need that at all. Again, this is going to be, that was just using exaggerated large numbers. It's more small, intimate. I'd rather shoot bigger and not need it
Right.
than start small and come back and go, oh, I made a mistake. So
And what kind of renovations are you planning to do to the barn?
it needs a new roof and new sides. Carpenter bees have had a field day.
Okay. And what's the dimensions of that barn in terms of handling 200 people?
It's 55 by 43. I don't know the square
Okay.
footage.
Okay, that's good. Okay.
Do you plan to use the loft or the downstairs?
There is no loft.
Okay.
hmm
And you have livestock?
Horses and chickens.
Okay. So if you're using the barn, so you have a separate stalls, a barn, what do
My
you have
horses
for the
aren't that glamorous. They don't want to be indoors ever.
Okay.
So they have their shelter outside.
Okay.
Schnickety horses.
Oh, yeah. They rather have rain, sleet, and snow. Put them inside, they panic.
How many horses do you have?
Just 2.
Two. Okay.
How many chickens?
12.
Any other questions?
I like the idea. I think,
It will stimulate the economy.
Yeah.
We plan on using farm-to-table fare within local vendors in Rockdale. The whole thing is about economic growth. It's an industry that if I can help somebody else and help the community at the same time, it's a win-win.
Just having a place to go and something to have a function at, I think it's
Absolutely.
a nice idea.
Not having to have local people have to drive either to the city of Atlanta or drive further out. And then you still get the wonderful aspect. We have the horse park, but that's kind of just an open, plain, naked area. Doesn't have charm and character. And when you think horse park, you're like, okay, I want to see the horses. I want that to go along with the wedding.
Where do you practice law?
Where?
Yeah.
Out of my home. I do contract law.
Where?
Out of my home.
Okay.
After COVID.
So Rockdale
Yes,
County.
right here in Rockdale.
Right. Everyone knows your city of Atlanta.
Yes, he's city of Atlanta.
The barn is 55 by 43. Of course, I think one of the conditions is that it's going to adhere to local standards. I'm not sure what your occupancy is going to be, but it was looking like it was maybe about 157 or something, but that's something you'll handle at a later date.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for your
Yeah, you're
time.
welcome.
Thank you.
We have people sign up to speak. Any in support?
We have one in opposition.
Okay.
Ms. Catherine Rooks.
Okay, there being no support, let's hear from the opposition.
Yeah, nobody in
Okay.
support.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Catherine Rooks. I currently live at 2150 Smyrna Ridge Court. 200 cars on 6 acres of gravel, 6 acres of gravel. I've actually written a letter to you guys tonight, and I would like to provide a copy of each of you if I could.
Speak into the mic, please.
I've brought a letter with me this evening to kind of give you my position on this, and I would like to share a copy with each of you if I may. Thank you. Oh, leave one for me.
Thank you. So this is one opposition. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if you'd like, I can speak to the issues. I'm here this evening with my neighbors. All of whom are in opposition to this request. This property is currently zoned as AR, as are all of the surrounding properties. All of us have property that is zoned AR. We purchased property with a zoning of AR for a reason, because we too like to have scenic views, and we like the peace and quiet that we have on our own properties. We've invested in Conyers and in Rockdale County with the hopes that we could stay here for a while and enjoy our peaceful properties. But what is happening here is a request for a wedding venue or other events, because the outdoor recreational facility allows any number of activities on the property, up to 200 cars, up to 200 guests. And you've already pointed out that the septic system will be an issue, so I will avoid that. So what I've given you on the first page is the red lining is the subject property. The yellow is my own property, so you can see how close I am to the subject property. As you can imagine, a wedding or other venue or other event of this type would create a great deal of noise. And the noise comes from the instrumental music, it comes from guest activity, it comes from recorded music. This level of noise will disrupt the surrounding area, which is agricultural in nature. We will not be able to enjoy the outsides of our homes if this is allowed to take place. The proposed property is also going to, as you can imagine, will increase the traffic. And along Smyrna Road, the traffic already, it's a long straight area, and it already goes in excess of the legal speed limit. And so it's a dangerous road to begin with because of that speed. The subject property is located at the top of a hill. So as you're approaching the property from either direction, you don't have visibility as to what's coming from the other direction. And what I've presented for you here is a picture that shows the approach to the property, and you can see that you cannot see traffic coming from the opposite direction. As an agricultural and residential area, we have significant populations of deer and coyotes and other wildlife. This type of activity is going to disturb the existing wildlife in the area. And as you can imagine, perhaps intoxicated guests leaving in the evening will create problems and perhaps hitting all of these deer and coyote that cross the road. The traffic will also require the trades to come in. You're going to have caterers coming in. You're going to have the porta potty guy coming in. So it's not just 200 cars. It's everybody else. Somebody's bringing in the flowers. Somebody's bringing in the music. It's not just 200 cars. It's more than 200 cars. Now, what's going to happen here is because the people cannot see when they're coming up the hill, they're going to miss that turn into the property. And the next available spot that they have to turn around is going to be my road. My road is a private road. It is privately maintained. We have 3 homeowners on the road, and when there are repairs to be made, it comes out of our pocket. The county is not paying for that. And the last time that repairs were made because of the traffic over the years, it was in excess of $100,000 that the homeowners had to split amongst themselves. And so additional traffic there is going to speed up that process of requiring additional repairs. There's also going to be risk to public safety by holding events on this property. So behind this property is a gas line, and I have notified the gas company so that they can look into it and see if they have any objections about having 200 people or more on the gas line. They're looking into it. They'll get back to me on that. Now, right behind this property, there is a deep gully. And as you can imagine, 200 people on just 6 acres, there is a likelihood that the guests will leave the property and go on to neighbors' property. So if they go behind the property, there's a risk that they're going to fall into this gully, especially when they're at the evening events and they're had a few drinks. So I've shown you a picture of the gully that's behind the property. And there is a fence that you can see in the upper provision of the property. That is the subject property. So you can see how close it is to this gully. This gully runs along the gas line, and it also is a habitat for snakes. And some of these snakes are poisonous. And so you can imagine a slightly intoxicated guest encountering a poisonous snake, perhaps not recognizing that it is a poisonous snake, and not knowing how to respect the animal's privacy. And I've also shown you pictures of 2 copperheads that crossed our road at an inopportune time. So that's proof that it is in fact a snake habitat. Now, the home, I understand that this is not going to be a concern for the commission, but the home in question is subject to covenants that prohibit it says no noxious or offensive activity shall be carried on upon any portion of the property, and nothing shall be done thereon which may be or may become an annoyance or nuisance to the neighborhood. In addition, in these covenants, there is a prohibition against signs, so there won't be a monument sign identifying where the property is located. Now, I moved to Conyers in 2018 because I wanted to have a horse farm. I couldn't afford a horse farm up in Alpharetta. Conyers was a very affordable opportunity for me. I do have horses. I have 8 horses presently on the property, and they are show horses, so they are of value. There is a horse farm across the street as well that also has show horses. I'm going to grab my water for a second. I've got 1:52 left. So guests that are lost and on our street because they can't find the property or that wander off the property are going to encounter our horses. People that are not trained in equine safety are at risk of being hurt or are at risk of hurting the animals themselves. And so what I've presented for you here is pictures of what happens when people who don't understand horses get involved with them. So the first page there is a picture of what happened to my round pen after one of my horses was spooked by a gas line worker who didn't understand horses.
That's your round.
That's it. Yes,
That's
it is my
round
round pen. And my horse. And my vet bill. The next page is another horse that was spooked, and you can see the damage that caused to him by people that just don't understand. And then finally, I rescue horses periodically. So I will bring on an abused or a neglected animal. And so right now I have a 20-year-old Shetland pony who was neglected and who was abused, and therefore has been traumatized. And so I've shown you a picture of what she looked like when she came onto my property, as well as a picture of what she looks like now. But because of what she's been through, she is a nervous animal. And when she's upset, she will pace and pace and pace and pace. Can you imagine what the noise of 200 guests partying is going to do to her well-being? That's my time there. Look at that, I got 6 seconds left. That's all I have to say, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you. We look forward to a denial of this request, and we look forward to seeing everybody at the polls. Thank you.
I'm going to ask you one question, if you come. How far is your property distance-wise from the subject property?
So it's maybe, I don't know, Carrie, how
Seems
is
pretty-
it 300 feet?
One lot between
Yeah, Carrie's butt's right up against it, but mine's probably a few hundred feet,
200 feet.
250, 200.
Just this one,
Right.
one lot distance.
Right, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I actually have a question for you.
Yes.
How do you handle the traffic? Do you see the traffic that occurs from was it Haven Fellowship Church? Is it a lot of traffic on the road on those?
It's I haven't seen any traffic on that property. I think I've seen 2 cars there on a Sunday.
I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry, I don't see much traffic at the church.
It looks like the paving is relatively large. I was curious as to whether or not it actually had a large congregation.
I don't know the answer to that. I haven't seen it.
We should almost have to speak.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, we have some more letters that the owners would like to present.
All right. Now have time for a rebuttal.
The covenant she's referring to is dated 1985 and expired 25 years later.
Well, not really. Now covenants now, and as here it says, it automatically renews for 10 years in successive periods. If you look on the...
Under the general provisions?
Yes. I looked at that too. The covenants are binding for under a period of 25 years. Covenants shall be automatically extended for successive periods of 10 years unless an instrument signed by the majority of the owners has been recorded agreeing to said change of such covenants.
So that takes it to 2025?
No, it actually keeps going.
Perpetual.
Perpetual, 10 years. I just...
In what location? How? When I purchased my property, none of this was ever brought to the table. So I'm just curious, what does this actually encompass?
Well, we're not in the... We don't enforce covenants. So I'm just, for your own kind of...
Oh, yeah, I've never
right.
seen of it. I've
Okay.
never, I'm so
Right.
glad that I
Sure,
get
it
to meet
comes
all
from
my
the-
neighbors.
whether it
I've never
pertains to-
met
whether it
anybody I
pertains
didn't
to
know
your
something like
particular
this would do
property
it.
or not, I don't know.
Is your property part of what was that Klein development, 1985?
Not to my knowledge. So, but again, I only purchased in 2016. This was not brought to me. This was not a part of my
It appears from the
deed.
plat, though,
So,
that it was part of the Klein development.
right. So that I have
Now,
no
we
clue
don't
of.
get into, legally the covenants, but just,
Yeah.
I wanted to point that out, that most new covenants have that successive renewal.
That would be good to know.
Right. Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That was just really the biggest standout. Again, the numbers of 200 are just what it can handle. That's not even a desirable number, but like I stated before, you rather have more and not need it than have less and actually need it. It is.
What
go
would
ahead.
you have in the way of music or
That's what I said, outdoor speakers.
outdoor speakers and things of that nature during the events? I mean, because I noticed there's a church right next door, and, you know, in my mind, that would preclude having anything on Sunday. If any event for you on Sunday, you know, if you had outdoor music and whatnot, which you probably would for the wedding venue.
Absolutely, it would be, you know, the same portable speakers.
Yeah, that
We
creates
hear
a
noise
problem for
from
me.
the high school. I hear the high school band. I hear our neighbors hear us. I hear them. It is, again, I was shocked. So I'm like, okay, if these are concerns, I will keep them in mind. It's all I can do.
So you haven't been approached with the concerns prior to this meeting?
Nobody has communicated with me. Nobody's talked to me. I received an email at 8:30 at night from Miss Rooks, and I had no clue who she was. I didn't even know she was a neighbor. And I'm like, why didn't anybody come ring the doorbell? Nobody's going to wander off the property. I have 6-foot fencing with 18-gauge wire on the outside of it, so my animals can't get out. So nobody's going to go jump a 6-foot fence. The entire 6 acres is fenced in. I have a privacy gate. You can't just get onto my property. You have to push a call button. I have to actually let you in. So it offers security. When someone's trying to get on the property, they have to have permission to come onto the property.
So your entire property?
Entire property is completely fenced in.
Corner to corner is fenced?
Corner to corner. Horses will not be near humans because my pastures are all sectioned off.
And Tamika had just brought out earlier, she was saying that the square footage for the barn is approximately 157 guests, I think she has expressed. Would you be opposed to limiting your number of guests to 150?
Not at all.
That would go into the barn. So that can be, you know.
That's 467 feet. Okay.
Because I was just, you know.
According to this.
Would you be open with talking with the neighboring residents? I'm just curious, okay, the property is fenced. You're willing to limit the number of guests. There was a discussion earlier about the number of venues that you were willing to kind of work out. It just seems like it's something that, you know, you as well as the residents could kind of work together for a meetable solution.
I would hope so. Like I said, I was actually shocked. I had a neighbor call me and they were told Sonny doesn't actually live there. Somebody else, it's an imposter. Somebody else is trying to do an event. And I was taken aback. I've lived here since 2016. Probably don't know most of my neighbors because we've never had a single issue. I just met Carrie and Denise because my dogs escaped probably 8 months ago, and so I drove down the private drive. That was my first time actually meeting them. Actually, their son used to cut the kudzu off of my fence line. So I really was taken aback. This is new to me.
And I can see you not knowing your neighbors. I don't know, you know, I'm on an acre lot and I don't know who lives next door to me. So if you're on six acres, I can see you not knowing.
And then I'm dead in the center of the 6, so I'm not on the edge.
So
Nothing, as you see, house, pool, and barn, they're completely in the center of the property.
And with you bought your property in 2016. I just think that, you know, we all want you guys to live together cohesively, but you got a right to enjoy your property as others have a right to enjoy their property as well. So I see that as too. And you may not sit, you know, you may not conserve alcohol every event, you know. So, you know.
It might be a kid's party. It might be, you know.
How is that? What kind of license does it require when you're selling alcohol or, you know, serving alcohol at an event like that? What's the requirements for license? You know, do anybody know?
Permits are required.
Permits are required.
You have to get a license, or you have to have servers.
The vendors, I guess. Wait, Director,
you need to weigh in, Director.
Clarify that for us.
Thank you very much, Commission. And my apologies to the group. I wanted to just be able to hear, but I do appreciate your comments. I can't hear what conditions might the Commission be looking at if there's additional comments. I won't be able to hear what the conditions the Commission wants or what they're looking for if I'm not able to hear their rebuttals. To your question, yes, there's a full licensing process, beginning with a background check from the Sheriff's Department, and they have to go through a few processes to be able to serve alcohol at any particular venue, especially a venue that is planning to do events. In addition to that, please, the Commission Board, please know that your comments can become recommendations and and conditions to include noise studies, to include other things that you would like to see, a reduction of guests. So I want you guys to be clear, as you're having your conversation, some things that I can look back over on this application as they're going through their process. And they are in process, so to the guests, there are additional comments and things that will be processed out through our permitting process, which each one of our departments will be addressing before they even go before any of the other boards. I just wanted to make sure that I was here and I could hear you.
Director, you mentioned the permits for alcohol. Would the ordinance about the proximity to a church come into play with that?
We would have to review all the ordinances and the.
Because I think you got a 1,000-foot requirement now in the ordinance.
Absolutely.
For alcohol in a church, and I think that presents a serious problem.
Yeah, that's why I said during the course of the process, I'm sure as they're becoming edified, they would know that Rockdale County does have ordinances that do permit certain activities close to churches. They make sure that we also have full traffic studies, which is one of the recommendations here to ensure the safety of the roads. We also have ordinances pertaining to livestock and animals. We also have environmental ordinances that go through that an applicant will be or can be conditioned for prior to them receiving any final approval. So I wanted just to highlight that as I'm in the corner capturing the best information from all of the people that spoke here today. Any addition? Okay, cool.
Thank you.
You can come back.
I think Tom has a good point. That alcohol.
Yeah, that's
church.
Yeah, huge point. Yeah.
Were you aware of that ordinance regarding alcohol in a church property?
Yes, but the distance
Well, you're right
was
next
met,
door.
but I don't have it. Sorry.
Aren't you right next door to a church?
Yes, their property is
Borders you.
backside. It's their parking lot, correct.
Yeah. So their property line borders your property.
Correct.
Are you joining property lines?
Correct.
Okay.
So
That's
I
less
don't
than
know the
1,000 that's
specifics
less than
on, is
1,000
it
feet.
door to door? So those were things I wasn't aware of that I have to
Well,
do.
I don't know if does the ordinance read door to door, or is it property line to property line?
That I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I know it's 1,000
I knew it
feet.
was 1,000 feet, but I didn't know.
Is
Yeah.
it door to door? Is it property line to property line as far as the distance?
Look on Muni code.
Well,
To the property line.
if that's
Could you-
if that's 400 feet, I mean, your back property line is 467 feet.
The venue area is going to be.
Uh,
We'll be looking
The
at
venue
distance
is
here.
less
When
than
you get
1,000 feet to the church front door.
distance from here, which is where she's saying
So,
that she's
anyway.
concerned about noise and distance. And Georgia has a 62 decibel. So if what happens here.
All right,
is the registry by 62 here.
Oh, okay.
that will stay within the-
Okay. So,
All right.
Denise, you have something to add?
I just want to add that I think the ordinance about the alcohol serving is more for if there's a liquor store as opposed to you serving on a one-off basis. So, not the liquor store, you have, yeah.
The permitting for Rockdale County does have a permitting structure for liquor to be sold. It cannot be sold as specific because you would have to go through the permitting process to sell any particular liquor or servable liquor in a venue space, or it can be done through a non-for-profit. Both of those we'll be able to educate as they go through the process here.
I think the one of the issue, the question is that distance ordinance, and we may not know this here, apply to something like this, or is it a liquor store?
I think I'm beginning to think that the 1,000 foot regards to selling of alcohol.
Yes, the sale of
But
alcohol package store,
when
the new
you're-
distance requirement is for the sale of alcohol.
When
for
you're
package
talking about alcohol being served at a venue, you're going to have to get an individual permit. Is it going to be for each individual event, or can the property get a permit to serve alcohol whenever they have an event? I don't know. I need to have that clarified.
I want to have that clarified because now I'm thinking of two because I just recently looked at the liquor distancing for package stores, and I don't want to confuse this board.
Right.
Might I take that question and respond back to the Planning Commission regarding that?
Sure.
But I do know that we are pretty strict about the way liquor is sold, and we are sure for the serving of it, and of course, the security of the venue. One of the other requirements that we have here is to make sure that this is a secured site. They will have to be able to maintain more than just their security, so that it's in the area for traffic, but to make sure that the event does not spill over to endanger any of the neighbors as well. But she's thinking of multiple events. It may not be always about liquor. And I think the recommendations that you're giving her to look at the number of guests and the things that have been shared by her neighbors is something to be considered. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
I will look into that. I'll be back.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I'm pretty confident that the alcohol consumption for an event is done event by event and not one time get a permit
Yes.
to do alcohol.
I'm pretty sure it is also.
Yes.
I think it's kind of hard to determine, at this point, if we're talking about the noise study, traffic study, kind of trying to determine whether or not the alcohol would be an issue for you. And of course, the number, of course, would go through the city. I'm not sure if the best course of action is maybe to table this until we can find that information so that all parties could feel comfortable with what's going on.
As a planning commission right now, I don't believe we can
just
table it.
We can just not vote.
We'd have to make you can make no recommendation.
Yeah.
And with the condition that we ask, if the Board of Commissioners so chooses to send it back to us, that'd be up to them, the Board of Commissioners.
Could we do a recommendation where, and I guess it may not be avenue, where both parties talk? And I mean, some kind of,
just making a recommendation.
something they can speak and say, if you limit the number of cars, limit the number, just what it really is to cry. Well, where could we come to some common ground? Could we send it back, or we can't send it back?
We can't.
Unfortunately, we cannot. There has to be a vote. However, I do have a copy of the liquor ordinance that is here. Okay. Section 218-16, Standard of Use and Development, is hereby amended as followed. Beer, wine, and liquor stores. Beer, wine, and liquor stores developed as a primary use in freestanding buildings must comply with the county's ordinances pertaining to licensing requirements for retail packaged liquor stores. Retail packaged liquor stores, beer, wine, and liquor stores, unless part of a mixed-use development in an MXD, not a residential, mixed-use development, shall not be located within 1,000 feet of an existing package store or alcohol outlet, within 600 feet of any residential church or residence, church, school building or grounds, education facilities, college campuses, or adult entertainment establishments, or within 600 feet of a substance abuse treatment center owned, operated, or approved by the state or any county or municipal government. For alcohol sales and accessory use to the retail, the area devoted to the sale and storage of alcohol shall not exceed 20% of the gross floor area. The sale or distribution of individual cups and individual servings of ice or package stores is prohibited. This means that this
I think we can concede that we're not talking about that. I think what we need to know is the permit requirements for a venue that would be under a special use permit, but what requirements are there for the venue to make for each event as far as alcohol not sales, but alcohol distribution.
If they receive a permit for alcohol distribution for an event, then they can do that for that event. They would have to apply.
It would be an
for that
event by event.
by event.
Okay, that's what I just want to clarify.
Unfortunately,
So-
the event at this juncture, we would need your vote and your recommendations or any conditions that you would like to see moving forward to move through the process. Ladies and
Client's still got 5 minutes if they want to say something.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just want to put for the record that the applicant would either have to have an approved alcohol license, as you said, for the events, or that they would have to be or they could be sponsored by a non-for-profit or another individual, as in another organization or business sponsoring that for that sale to move forward. Outside of that, if that is a position or concern of yours, we will take that under consideration as they move through the process or the next stage of the process, as possibly looking at conditions. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, the public portion of this hearing is now closed, and now we are in board discussion and our motions.
I personally got a problem with the various things that we've discussed, the alcohol and the traffic, and the the noise. And if there's going to be alcohol, then how many police officers have to be there to or private security? It creates too many questions in my mind. Anybody else got a thought?
Well, doing a noise study for these people, a traffic study for these folks, just to reassure them, if nothing else. I think 200 people is a lot of people on 6 acres.
Yeah.
I can see limiting that number down to maybe, I know you were trying to get, but I think limiting that number down to maybe 100 people. And to let y'all know, I also own horses. So, and I also know that yes, they can have trouble when things start, and they can adjust. So,
Please.
No.
Okay, no.
So I'm conflicted with that, to be honest with you. I have lots of, I have friends that have horses that live next to gun clubs. I have horses and have neighborhoods that shoot off fireworks, and so I do understand your concern, but I'm conflicted to allow somebody to do a venue. I have seen many of these venues that are really well done too. So, but I am concerned that a noise study be done, a traffic study be done, that be conditioned in, and that there be a smaller limit to the number of people, as you said, if you make this so it's not 200 people and huge.
Okay. Thank you.
I kind of agree along those lines. If we could limit the number of persons, and then all that to be one of the conditions to be a noise study as well as a traffic study. And I think a lot of these things, if it seems like they can't have an outdoor event with the noise, then they can have an indoor event where the noise can be controlled a little bit better. And so I think that it's of course, I definitely understand that you all want to enjoy your property, but I also believe that they should be able to enjoy their property as well.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to be able to capture from the Commissioner White. You're looking for a noise study, a traffic study, and a limitation on the amount of guests, a reduction of about 50 guests to 150.
I think 100 probably would be.
100, a limitation down to 100, to include the possibilities of moving this to an indoor event for the music portion at least, or the entire event. So is that correct?
Yeah, for the noise concerns.
For the noise concerns. For the noise concern, indoor event.
I would like clarification on the number of portable potties that would be required per person.
Okay, we want to beat the standard, the event standards, that there should be.
Whatever the health department, there are standards that the Rockdale County Health Department has on how many potties have to be provided, male, female, ADA, X number of people can be used for those. That concerns me.
Okay, so we have a traffic study, we have a noise study, a limit of 100 and a recommendation for this to be taken to an indoor event space for the noise, for the protection of noise. We also have a health department standards for all porta potties per guest at each event.
There may also recommend a police officer directing traffic, because there is concern of going into the private subdivision and missing the venue entrance.
To the inclusion of security, we want to recommend a police officer. At least, do you want one per 50 to 100 guests, or you want the standard?
Is this regarding the security for the traffic or it's just for traffic?
Okay, for the traffic.
I'd like to make another recommendation, limit the number of events a day to one event a day.
I would like, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, ma'am, I did not hear. Commissioner?
Limit the number of events to one per day.
Okay, one event per day. Okay. The conditions, is there any additional conditions? I'm sorry, Mr. Commissioner Harris, Commissioner Weinstein, additional conditions? No?
Okay. Sorry, thank you.
Commissioner Ford?
We were just discussing, and this has nothing to do with the county, so I want to make that clear. For the homeowners, they can look at if this property is in the covenants. And if they are in the covenants, it does say, shall be used for recreational or agricultural purposes. But that would be something that, should this be approved, that you would have to take on yourself to look into. I just want to make that clear.
Okay, that's all the covenants. Okay. Is there any additional recommendations from the commission board? May I be permitted to recap for clarity? Commissioner Ford, do you have any additional comments, sir?
I think the parking was addressed. Currently there is a driveway cemented.
Gravel?
Gravel.
Yes, sir.
Or make sure it's cement.
It's driveway.
I'm sorry.
And then there's, to a certain point, then it picks up with gravel.
Yes, sir.
Is there a parking attendant involved with this?
200 people is a lot of people to park.
But you couldn't recommend a condition on it for 100
Let's
people.
not say it.
Well, are you suggesting to put that in the condition, a parking attendant?
Yes.
Then?
A parking attendant, okay.
Questions on this tonight. They need to rethink this.
Yes, parking attendant.
Okay, so there's a parking attendant. I'm sorry, I don't want to jump ahead. Is there all the conditions? I would like to read back for the record the recommendations or conditions that the board is recommending for this application. Is that okay?
Yes, we haven't voted on it to approve it, but this is...
No, this is for the record, so that I would have it.
Very good.
If the approval doesn't happen, that doesn't happen, but if it does, then we have the conditions to move forward.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Well, we have pertaining to the application for SUP 2024-1 pertaining to the use of a wedding venue. We are recommending, or the Board of Commissions are recommending, a traffic study, a noise study, a reduction of guests to 100, recommendation to use an indoor space for noise control, health department standards for porta potties to meet the number of guests, police officers to direct traffic, 1 event per day, and the use of a parking attendant to ensure vehicle safeties. Commissioners, does this capture your recommendations or your thoughts?
Or thoughts, yes. Yes, yes, they do. Thank you.
Thank you very
That's
much.
very good.
Thank you.
So it makes it easier to present to the Board of Commissioners. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome. All right, we're now in discussion, or motions.
It's a lot, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot involved here that needs to be considered.
You know, I guess I'm wondering, and I do think that this is a happy medium. However, I'm just curious as to whether or not it becomes not a viable consideration at this point. That's
Somebody want a motion?
I don't know.
Well, that's a lot. Someone once said to me that if you have to have that many conditions, you need to rethink. But whatever the board.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. I move that we deny the special use permit request to allow the operations of an outdoor recreation facility waiting venue on this particular PRO 2024-01.
And for the record, your reasoning is,
Pardon?
and for the record, just for the Board of Commissioners, so.
That's true, that's true.
Your reasoning.
My reasoning, I need to put a reason on that. Well, the reason I think is the fact that there's too many conditions, too many questions regarding this particular proposal. Things need to be reconsidered and amended before they are approved, in my opinion.
Okay. So we have a motion on the table.
I'll second.
A second, okay. Is there any discussion? All right. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? None opposed. Okay, motion carries unanimously. And this will be heard at the Board of Commissioners meeting. And when is the date for that Board of Commissioners meeting? Do we know that?
Director, when's that?
I believe it's February 22nd.
The Board of Commissioner meetings will be on February 22nd, by which your comments and recommendations or commentaries will be passed on to the Board of Commissioners prior to it.
February 22nd at what time for the?
10 a.m.
10 a.m., February 22nd, 10 a.m. Okay, and this, right here? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Okay, next on the agenda is the reports. There's City of Conyers, none. Rockdale County, none. The next regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting will be on March 14th, 2024, 6 o'clock here. And before we adjourn, is there any board comments?
Sure.
Okay.
I think there should be a public hearing with the
It's at 6 p.m.
It's 6 p.m.
6 p.m., did I say that?
I just came, point of
Oh,
correction, February 22nd, but it is 6 p.m.
Oh,
That's
you're
the
saying the Board of
zoning.
Commissioners?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
I'm sorry, I'm here in BFC and I'm thinking
If
of.
you come
other
at
things.
10 a.m., nobody will be here. So, okay.
I'll be here.
Come at
Please be here
6.
by 6 p.m. For the zoning hearing.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much, I
Okay.
appreciate that. Point of correction.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you, appreciate it. Just before we adjourn, are there any comments or? All right, there being none, is there a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? I know that. Okay. We are adjourned.